That's where it is. That's as long as you know what you do and how you can add value, you won't
Right.
have to sell and you
Right.
won't have to figure out words to say.
Right. Right.
If you know that you can add value with somebody that does real estate, okay, all right, what does somebody with that does real estate need with messaging? Not poetry. Speak their language. What what does a real estate person need? And then you can even ask that question: what does a person in real estate uh, need as far as messaging? Right?
Mm,
Take the poetry word out because poetry is synonymous to messaging and
yes.
storytelling. And see, they're familiar with messaging. They're they're familiar with storytelling. They're familiar with these other words. They're just not familiar with poetry. So let's speak their language. Take mine out real quick, right? And when they tell me what their issues and problems are, oh, got it. You are looking to best describe this property. Got you. And you're used to having some proper, this house, it looks like this and this like that. And but what if that property commercial was a, oh my lord. What
Right.
if what if a poet was standing in the middle of the living room of the house?
Right.
Introducing the Poet Life Podcast. Go check it out today on your favorite platforms, including iTunes, Apple Music, and the website, thepoetlife.com.
Hey, it's Christoph Jenkins, founder and creator of the Poet Life, and obviously the host of the Poet Life podcast. And listen, man, I am extremely excited right now because I get to speak to one of my teammates, one of my partners in this poetry crime here at the Poet Life. And if you're wondering where he plays a role, he is our graphics designer. He's a creative mind, and I really appreciate his contribution. And we'll get into it, but elemental vision works, I'll say, because he is not an individual, he's an entity. Yes, sir. What's going on, brother?
Greetings, peace and blessings, man. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good when I'm in conversation with you, man. We always have some dope conversations. So why not record it and let's make it a podcast episode?
Indeed, that's what I'm saying, man. You know that it just makes sense. It just makes sense. We are in that time. It just makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So where do we come into play? Like you and I, how did we connect with each other? Now, here's the thing, and I say this often on this podcast. Elemental and I have never met in person, but it
Never.
feels like we've known each other for years, you
Indeed.
know, and I encourage whoever's listening, watching, to cherish and appreciate the relationships you have developed with people across the world. Where do you live at?
Right now, I live in outside of Houston, Texas.
So he's in Houston, Texas. I'm in the DMV, right outside of I'm in Maryland, right outside of DC, and you see the connection here, right? We've never met in person, but because we're on similar paths and have similar missions, we saw the value in making that connection. So, um, what did you see in the poet life that kind of drew you this way?
For me, it was the lack of snake oil, right? I've
Ooh.
been around a lot of folks who, they want to sell you something, right? I got to a point in my life, and my godfather pushed a book in front of me, very, very powerful book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Right. And he's, was telling me about, the motivational speaker that he was familiar with. And I'm just thinking about when you get with the people that are really, really doing it, you don't need anything, right? You don't need them to give you $49.95 for you to, for them to give you a jewel. You know what I mean? You don't need a $700 seminar for me to bless you with something. And one of the first times that I came across your live, you was like, listen, I'm gonna give you this information because I know most of y'all are not gonna take it anyway. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's that kind of confidence when someone says something like that. It's like, listen, I already know what it is, right? It's like a fisherman telling a rookie, it's like, listen, use this power bait, youngster, and your catch will be expounded exponentially. And the cat's like, nah, I'm gonna use these worms. You know what I mean? But when somebody comes at you and tells you something like that, it might behoove you to pay attention just a little bit. So for me, it was that level of, I know what this is, right? Because I put in the work. This isn't, you know what I mean? If you just buy into our system, it was never that. It was, this is what we do.
I appreciate that, man. And that just means a part of our mission is coming across the way we want it to, because like you're saying, you can tell that I'm simply sharing. I know the power and the value of poetry, and I need poets to know that, right? Because we cannot complain about the outside world not seeing our value if we don't. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's what I need. I need poets to see the value, the insurmountable value in poetry, and I'm now on Threads now. If you're not on there, you need to, bro. Like that. That's a powerful site. It's clean. It's simple.
Okay.
Yeah, it's clean. It's simple. It's great for writers and creatives, and the communication, the conversations. You're having conversations with a lot of people that are not following you. So I don't know how they got the algorithm or the setups. It's just based on the conversation you're having. You can literally just post, hey, say hi, and then hi. It's wild. And then straight from there, you can spark conversations with people that, So if you're not on there right now, hop on Threads. Y'all can find us at The Poet Life. And what's really cool is, we're just dropping gems on there. And they're like, wait. So it's like I'm meeting a brand new group of people and starting over. You know what I'm saying? And just bringing them into the fold, because the regulars on our lives, they're getting it on a daily basis, right? In the Facebook group and our new platform.
Right.
And it's so dope to see the eyes open, even if I can't see their eyes on through my phone. Right. So for you, when you first got that first gym, what did it feel like to you? Like, where is this information coming from? Like, what did that feel like to you?
Excuse me. Well, for me, it almost felt like a gospel, not the gospel, a gospel, right? Yeah. So much so that I started rapping with my people. Like, I think, this cat's really, really, really talking about something serious, right? Yeah. And it was, for me, the turning point was kind of, you don't have to. No, you said, are you a poet with a poem? Or do you want to be someone who employs a poet with a poem, or makes room or makes space for a poet with a poem?
Sure.
And for me, it just like, wait a minute. Like, and then you start saying, oh, okay, did you know a poet could rock this way, rock that way, rock this way, or rock that way? It was like, okay, well, for me, that ties into me personally, right? But I didn't necessarily think that my poetry would go in that realm, right? So,
Yeah.
what really like kind of pulled me into to what you were saying and the community is the actual aspects of what you were saying, right? Again, it wasn't buried or dripping with snake oil. It was actually, listen, folks, you know what I mean? This is what you do, and this is that. And
Yeah.
then when you tied it to the chat GBT, it was like, all right, all right. And it turned into something else for me, because one of my closest partners were talking about that already, and so but we were talking about it from an educational standpoint, right?
Mm.
And so for you to bring it into a business standpoint, it just turned it around. And when I started sharing it with him, he was like, wait a minute, that just took it somewhere else, because this is not necessarily just gathering and spitting out information. This is collecting data and directing it into something specific that I needed to do. That
Mhm.
makes it a powerful tool.
That's good. That's a good segue into you, man. Into you. Who is Elemental? Who is Elemental Vision Works, man? What? Tell me about it. Tell me about yourself.
Um, for real, I am a poet. I am a father. I mean, a poem. It always, any poetic space, I always start with, I am the dark side, and anything good and everything bad with your perfect little fallacy. A villainous conjurer of righteous thoughts, I was born. Wrapped in this war paint, I used to graffiti the American construct with a mutant matrix, Morpheus mind frame, atmosphere rearranger, descendant of Garvey, Newton, Carmichael, X, Black Splash, their backlash with mad color. This bad brother is a protest standing still. I am the red pill, conductor of this conscious railroad underground speak for my people who are lost and never found. Sojourner this truth, make it Hubbard Emmett till they hear it clear. Say it loud, say it loud, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. I am elemental. So for me, man, it has been a long time coming to this point, because there was times that I was just being so censored, and people didn't want to hear this voice. People didn't want this poet to emerge. So I even spent some time in the what I call the dungeon. You know what I mean? But spent some time inpatient, and just really really working on some things, man. So I call it the dungeon. It was really like, my death, in the sense of the death of who I was, and the birth of the poet that sits before you now. And it just really was a lot of things. I mean, I knew I was a poet well before then,
Mm.
but it just turned into this, some years ago. And I've just given 100% to who I am. Always given 100% to my creativity, because I believe that's what truly changes things, right?
Mhm.
When you
Mhm.
believe beyond boundaries, you go further than you could ever imagine, for real.
Beyond boundaries. That says a whole lot.
Yes.
One boundary being fear, whether it is fear of failure or fear of success. Like
Yes.
going beyond that, and that in and of itself is wild, because you're stuck between fear of failing, and then because you say you want to succeed, but you're
Right. Right.
also fearful of success, because that means more responsibilities,
Yes.
having to do things that you're uncomfortable doing, but not knowing that being uncomfortable means growing.
Yes. 100%. Um,
Yeah.
it is putting yourself in those uncomfortable spaces. The time I spent in New York, they told me to live in New York, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
And to me, that just made it make sense for everything in life, right? if you're comfortable, you're probably complacent, which means you're probably not moving much, right? But the moment you become uncomfortable is because something in your life is in disarray or out of balance, right? And then it becomes a priority, right? Now you're uncomfortable, right? Now you're like, no, I got to hustle and move until I can get comfortable again, right? The more you're uncomfortable and agitated, it probably means you're moving towards something more. If you're comfortable, you're complacent, you might as well, start calling your mortician and get it ready. You know what I mean? You're done. You're done if you're comfortable and complacent. You know what I mean? Unless you're retired, and then hey, you know what I mean? It's something else. You're just waiting on your next trip or something like that. But for the majority of folks, if you're comfortable, man, you're digging your grave every day.
Slowly. And that's the myth, though. People are conditioned to believe that the goal is to be comfortable.
No.
Yeah. Right.
You're right, though. You're right. You're right. Be comfortably middle class.
Just comfort and that it just, and yes, get comfortable in who you are, but then it's as soon as you get comfortable in who you are, it's time to get uncomfortable.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
right,
indeed.
because that means you finish that stage.
Come on, man. Come on,
Oh,
man.
okay. Oh, I got my footing. All right, I'm good to go now. Oh, now it's time to. Let's just take 9 to 5 for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I get a new job, for me, I'm on recon. As soon as I'm walking through the door, okay, who do I need to meet to cross train so I can learn what she knows, learn what he knows? I'm trying to get everything that I can get out of this opportunity, because that's what it is, right? That's what it is. It's an opportunity. I'm squeezing everything out of this opportunity and getting to the ceiling of that as soon as possible.
Yes.
I'm not being there for 20, 30 years. I'm squeezing it out as soon as I can. And now it's time for me to roll. The tables have turned on that whole 9 to 5 thing to where it used to be job loyalty. You stay there as long as possible when the job is not loyal to you.
Not anymore. I've seen that evolve, right? My father, may he rest in peace, worked for his job 35 and a half years, right? I don't know, one of my uncles worked for his job for like 20 plus, but I just don't see those things happening, right? I don't see too much of it happening. And I don't know how much of it has to do with, how we approach work, and how much easier work has gotten in the sense of technology has allowed us to, you do this as work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, like my father did, put on a uniform and put on boots and all those types of things, right? Work is now done in pajamas, so it's, you can still be loyal to it. But again, when it's that way, a company is like, oh, you don't want to do it for 17? Cool. I got someone to do it for 16.50.
Yeah. I see it like this because the business is treating it like business.
Yes.
Right. You help the bottom line, and we appreciate you while you're here. But if things change, if the bottom line changes, then we appreciate all of the work that you've done here, but we're going to have to cut ties. And so for me, it's the same way on my end. I'm not feeling bad when a new opportunity comes or if things in my life change and I got to make a pivot, a change as well. Thank you for this opportunity. It's time for me to, right? And and that is the mindset for me. That is the mindset of we're equal. I am serving you like you are serving me. And
Yes.
when we no longer need to serve each other, it's part ways. And I'm gonna do my best to be as amicable as possible, right? And I'll train whoever you need me to train before I leave out. In these last 2 weeks. But it's so important, even outside of entrepreneurship, to know our value, even as employees.
Yes.
I was talking to one of my friends. He was trying to get some advice on a whole job situation. He's trying to leave that position because the atmosphere, the environment wasn't the best for him. Stressful, right?
Sure.
Right. And so I said, dude, if they ever needed to let you go, they wouldn't feel bad about it. Right. So the same way, you don't need to feel bad about you needing to go. You need to focus on your health. That stress, that stress is you can't play with that. That stress will take you out here.
Man, listen, it has taken people out and it will
Yeah.
continue to take people out, right? Couple things. One, there's there's a couple things that I live by, right? One, a wise man once told me there is no progress without change, right?
Mm,
Again, if you're not moving forward, you mentioned putting your foot, in the door, like, okay, it's time to move on to that next level, right? You have to make changes, right? Or you will remain stagnant. Second, fear is a natural human emotion. It can be used in two ways, as motivation or a deterrent. The choice is yours,
mm,
right? So when I look at that, like you were saying, right, you have the opportunity to let something stop you in multiple ways, right? Especially when you start talking about comfort, right? Am I comfortable living here where I'm at in this space, living paycheck to paycheck? Or do I actually want to do something more than just exist? Right?
mm,
Because that's what I feel like when people get comfortable, they're existing, right? They've kind of sunk into the social order that someone else put upon them to say, nope, this is what you're here for. This is what you're supposed to do. So
mhm,
stay within that lane and do what we ask you to do, right? The problem is creativity, right? The problem is we want something more. The problem is we don't want to stand in straight lines. The problem is we don't necessarily need to do a job so easy a caveman could do it, right? We just have different ambitions and different passions in the world. And
mm,
when you try to go and take that spirit into a 9 to 5, you're exactly right, because how passionate creative beings are, right? So we're thinking about how it's going to affect the employer, right? Because we're giving so much of ourselves to it. But like you're saying, the employer treats it as a business. There's nothing personal about it, right? I could care less that just had a child or you just bought a new car, right? You're not producing the type of numbers that are our bottom line or our investors, right? If they're not happy, then somebody's head's got to roll, and I'm guaranteeing you, it's not going to be theirs.
That's
It,
that's
it, it doesn't work.
it's just
It does.
reality. It's just
It doesn't
reality.
work. I've been there. I've been on the side of a corporate American, Forbes 500 company, and then on the other side trying to invest in my creativity. So,
Yeah.
a couple of times I've done it. You know what I mean? And both times my creativity has been the most, the most that I could ever have imagined, and then still continues to grow. I'm telling you.
Mm. But you know why? Is because it's in line with your purpose. You
Man,
know, like
yes.
if we really appreciated purpose like we should, like, and it's not just a cliche word.
No.
Like people think it's a cliche word because we got bills and purpose ain't gonna pay no bills and right. Um, but if you really think about what purpose means, it means you were created for something. You were created with and on purpose.
Yes. Yes.
You,
Purpose
you,
that drives us, that binds us, that guides us, that drives us.
yeah.
Man, listen.
You were supposed to do something,
Right.
and those gifts were gifted to you to help you get your mission, your purpose completed.
That's if you accept it, right?
That's
Because this is
to
this is
accept
really
it.
this is really Mission Impossible, right? Because, and I say it's Mission Impossible, right? But according to Jay, impossible takes a week. Um, but it really is Mission Impossible because you're trying to set out to accomplish a mission that has no rules, has no template, and really no map, right? You just know that there is treasure somewhere
Mhm.
if you follow your North Star, right? If you decide to truly plug into your passion, right, and become that conduit, right? Become that conduit to channel that energy into what, like you said, your purpose. But you have to be receptive of that. You know what I mean? You listen, most of us, most of the people in my circle didn't go to, above middle class schools. All of my people went to public school. So, the public school was designed to create workers, So as much as we tried to do what we could to inject creativity in it, the system was not designed for creativity, right? The system was designed for, 9 to 5. You know what I mean? 15 minutes every 4 hours, 30 minutes, get back to work. You know what I mean? Like this is what it is, right? And so they set up your life to be that, right? And so, again, you enter that creative realm. It's like, wait, none of this makes sense. And then someone says, of course it doesn't, right? Someone says, of course it doesn't. Here is your chance. Would you want to go back to your dream, or do you want to go to and find out what the real matrix is? And to me, that's where, the person's choice of creativity happens.
And
Because on the Blue Pill side, they say, creativity can't get you anything. And that's where my path crossed with you, right? Because it's just art. What are you gonna do? Write books, right? People don't make money off of poetry. You can't, you know what I mean? What else do you do? Right? People would ask me that. They said, okay, what do you do? I said, I'm a poet. Oh, really? Oh, that's really cool. What else do you do? Okay. Okay. Do you ask a doctor what else do they do? I doubt it, right? Even though I know a doctor, right? Even though I know a doctor and they got other things going on in their life. I'm just saying it was just interesting. You know what I mean? That someone asked, hey, what else is what else do you do compared to all that encompasses being a creative being?
When did poetry come in for you?
Poetry has been in my life a lot longer than I thought, right? I would say I really, really started dedicating time to do it 2002. 2002 is when I would fall asleep writing. Or, you fall asleep writing and it just trails off. The pen just trails off. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
About 2002, transition point in my life, man. I just started writing, started building my studio, making music, and just like writing, it was just like that thing for me. It's like I could always be honest with the page. And
Right.
as I grew with a writer, and I've said it later in my poetry that, poetry has always been there, no matter what time it was, and always welcoming, never judging, but just welcoming.
That paper, that pen that doesn't judge you, just allows you to release and create. That's
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Okay. So about 21 years ago, you started getting into it. And What have you been able to do with it, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of the timeline, right? So
Mhm.
2001 or so, I started writing. I didn't get to my sensei and shifu until 15, right? Then I ran into my mentors who actually taught me poetry and dubbed me poet. I came to them and said, "Hey, I'm a writer, man. You know what I mean? I write a bunch of stuff." And they gave me the tools and the techniques, and they said, "No, you're a poet. Now you're a poet." I said, "All right." So that was like 15. Um, Fast forward 5 more years or so, life went crazy again. Found myself in a dungeon. Fast forward 21, right? Um, Life changed, and I said, you know what, here goes another corporate job that's saying, oh, we have to make some changes, so you're not going to be on the team going forward. And I replied to this company the same way I replied to the last company that said that. I said, you know what, I feel you, but you're only kind of forcing me to do what I want to do anyway. And that was, in this case, my poetry. And so that's what I did. I set it aside. I said, forget about it. I'm not worried about another corporate job. And I went full force on my poetry. And one of the places that I found, first and foremost, was the New Eureka Poets Cafe, right? It was an online space, still is an online space that I was familiar with, right? Because I was familiar with poetry in my time up to this, doing my own research on poetry. And my mentor even mentioned it, said he had rocked on the stage. I found them, right? I had done my research on deaf poetry and all those things. Um, Came across them, started rocking with the online open mics. Shout out La Bruja, shout out Advocate of Words. So many incredible people that helped me, just really kind of grow my confidence in my poetry. And now I'm the host of that space. You know what I mean? Now I'm the host of the, Monday night online open mic presented by this legendary New Eureka Poets Cafe. I have published a book. I've been published in now 3 collections. I have, my name has been featured in a couple of things. I've done reviews for poets books. It's been something else, but to me, one of the most important things that poetry has done for me is it helped me to truly find my identity,
Mm.
right? Like, I had my name, my moniker already before I found poetry or before I fully moved into poetry. Um, but now I actually have the voice that I've always knew was there. And now even being able to maneuver it and manipulate it in different ways through how we connected through the graphics, right? Which also started some years ago, man, because I just said, what if I could do it myself? Because I was thinking, I'm a child of the 90s. I kind of came up in the 90s. And so I saw Hype Williams videos, right? Hip hop, Hype Williams videos. And they were just, films. They were movies, man. They really were. And
Mm.
so I used to think to myself, man, like, wow, what would it look like if I could do my own videos, right? If I had a chance to kind of shoot and design and, all those things. And so I started learning. I started teaching myself. I started watching YouTube videos and, messing with Photoshop and messing with iMovie and just kind of seeing what I could do and how I could move around, man. And it's just something that I've always enjoyed to do, completely creating my own graphics. It's just something about it.
Mm. Okay. Your name, you spoke of your name, Elemental Vision Works. Where did your name come from?
So again, I'm a child of the 70s, right? My parents were such avid music fans. My father was a Vietnam veteran. Um, there's so many different aspects to who I am and what I do. Um, and music has always been one of those things, right? And to me, one of the greatest groups in the world is EWF, right? Just in the way they Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Mm,
and the way that they were able to not just create timeless music, but create timeless lessons and messages that
mm,
still are relevant decades later, right? That sound, that groove, that power, that energy, right? From Philip Bailey all the way up here to Verdine White with the bass all the way at the bottom. It's ridiculous. And for me, it was just like, how do I encompass everything that I do, all the power that I have? And this was before I even started really projecting my voice like that.
mhm,
And it was like, okay, then I am the culmination of these things, right? I am this part earth, part wind, part fire, part air, part water, part heart. I am the elemental.
mm. Got it. Okay. Why the number two in elemental and basically how you presented elemental vision works?
I appreciate that question, truly. So the number two is very prominent in my life. Um, Ties back to me in college, but also the number two, the number two is just so prevalent in my life. I was born in a year that had two of the same numbers. My mother has a two. All our birthdays are divisible by two. I have two daughters and two sons. They all have twos in their birthdays. It's just really, you know what I mean? So when I was trying to create something, it had to be something that I could represent that aspect of my life, right? And so when I finally came to the elemental, and it was like, I can easily throw the two in that. The one goes back to, again, how the two came into my life. So the one is actually a 12, right? And so that's significant to me and how I learned part of the strength. That was another transition point to me in my life. But to me, how many people do you know have numbers in their names, right? And so it was just, other than it being, a number, but in order to kind of throw it in again, another creative way that I can make people think like, man, how did he, like, what is, like, why did you do that? Right. But again, just something else, you know what I mean? Another element to say, no,
Mm,
it's intentional. It's
got
intentional.
it. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I figured. So how are you combining and connecting the elements of poetry and graphic design?
So what I have done a few times is I will take a poem that I've written, kind of how I started in this whole thing some years ago. I did a piece in college. It was for a social problems class, as a matter of fact, right? And I created this video, school to prison pipeline type stuff. And it was just, I just recorded it on a whim. As a matter of fact, I was like in my mom's laundry room, just recording this, random poem, not really thinking it was going to be something like that. And then my professor was like, pulled me aside after class, like, yo, like that shit right there, like, yo, you want to work with the school? Like, you know what I mean? We could put you down because that was pretty heavy. And so I was like, okay, let me take it to another level and see what I could do. I used another poem, and this time I just used a bunch of graphics, right, to coincide with my poem. And then one of my mentors was like, yo, how much would you charge me to do one of those for me? And I was like, oh shit, okay, this might actually work. this could actually work. Okay. And then I, had to take some time off, but now coming back to it, it's like, okay, now how can I even go further than that? And so now with the programs and the advancement of some of these things, I can add motion. It's not just a bunch of slideshows anymore, because that's kind of how it was. It was just, okay, here's this picture, transition to this flat picture, transition to this flat picture. Now there's actually motion and movement. You know what I mean? Now I'm trying to incorporate myself with green screen. And it's just a lot of different things, that I can really fully express my creative ideas.
Mm, man, what I want to see from you? I want to see you creating commercials. And yeah, I want to see you creating commercials with your oral presentation, whether it's voice over or you on screen, however, but obviously with your what you just shared as far as the graphics, the 3D, and even incorporating, I know you probably have already dabbled, but AI.
AI is something strange, man. But I do know that I do have to get in the mix. And I have dabbled with that a little bit, thanks to one of your challenges. And I have done what you're asking, right? So I've done it twice now. I have a clothing line, right? Again, Elemental Vision Works, right? And so I did a first season release, and I
Nice.
made a commercial out of my first season release. I took all of the flat images of my merchandise, of the designs that I made, right? I put them on, I mocked them up on different, models and, blank images, and, put it together, made the track, put it together, boom, right? Dropped the first season. And now I just recently dropped the second season, and I did the exact same thing. This time it has different merchandise. I've used different companies and stuff like that. So, but no, that's definitely one thing that I was thankful that I've learned what I have learned, so I can do something like that, right? That I don't have to go out and try to outsource someone to, here's a truckload of images from my clothing line. Now make me a whole commercial, right?
Right.
I can actually fully take on all of the creative design of it, and it's fun, man. Like that's some of the most fun I have in my life is when I'm editing, really.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. Yeah, it's the creative process. It's creating, it's ideating, it's brainstorming, and then when you actually produce the thing and people appreciate it, it's just like I can create anything.
Yes. And they
Yeah,
messed around and let me find a cheaper alternative to a green screen. I'm telling you, man, it's ridiculous. It's
like what?
ridiculous. I just haven't had time to really fully explore it, but I've been doing a few testing. It's basically just anything that's that color. Basically, you can use it as a green screen because
Oh
the program will just basically read it and take it out.
wow.
I've already done my tests with it. You know what I mean? So now it's just about, okay, I know I can do it now. It's a lot of little details to it, lighting and, camera positioning and those kinds of things. But listen, man, what I know about video production these days is very little of it is shot on location. It's just a big fat room full of green screens.
It's time to create an unforgettable experience at your next event with The Poet Life by booking a keynote poet. Poets excite your audience with motivating messages, charismatic delivery, colorful rhythm, powerful prose, and heart-filled stories with a style of spoken word that's tailored specifically to your event. The Poet Life has keynote poets in your city of all ages and backgrounds.
Visit thepoetlife.com to learn more and book your poet today.
What's your vision, pun intended? What's your vision for where this can and will go for you?
So ultimately, I would love, and it's twofold, really. I have the aspirations as a poet to have poetry broadcast from the space station, right? Like kids, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. You know what I mean? Like they on military bases, they play reveille in the morning. I would love for them to broadcast poetry from the space station. Really, really. On a business tip, I would really love to be able to, as you mentioned before, be able to make those connections, right? To be able to, get that funding from said company and be able to go and say, okay, here's the team that I need to build to put this together, right? So I can go and say, okay, the people that I know who are some of the best in the world, right? Okay, all I need you to do is focus on you. I will do the rest, right? Or I have the team put together to do the rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about opening doors for other people, right?
Mhm.
They said in life, it's not always about what you know, it's about who you know. A cat told me later, it's also about who knows you, right? And so one of the things that I would love to do is take the knowledge that I have, right? Move forward so many steps so I can help the people behind me move forward even further, right? That's really what it's about. Being
Mm.
able to give creative people opportunities to be as creative as they absolutely can be. That's really what it's about, right? And so now I have these things in place. Now I have to make the right connections to be able to put those people in place, right? To be
Mm.
able to be the motivational speakers, to be able to be to be the featured poet, the featured speaker, all those types of things. I can do it too, right? It's not that I can't do it, right? But beyond the fact of me being able to do it, I have a team of people that can do it as well. So now it's not just a 30-minute or 1 hour deal. It's a 4 or 5 hour, seminar that we can put on. Right
That's
now,
good.
we've added a whole nother level of commas.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Because it only takes one opportunity to get the snowball growing and rolling down the hill. Have you tried to create a commercial without even asking for an organization and then reaching out to said organization and basically showing them the sample of what's possible, right? Because people are visual. So sending an email saying this is what I can do is great. But if they clicked on a video to say, oh, that's us, that's our brand, that's our logo, that's our products, that's our services, man, we need to definitely set up a call with Elemental Vision Works.
I like that idea. I
Mhm.
did take your advice on another space, and again, as soon as you said that, I'm already thinking of it's the same place that I'm going to come back at them. You know what I mean? I did exactly what you suggested, and I asked my business partner, just like you call it your business partner, right?
Yeah.
I asked my business partner. I said, "Hey, business partner, make me create me an email that offers Elemental Vision Works as a service for free to do the graphics for this particular place."
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. And I
Hmm.
did. I did exactly that. And I got, a response and was like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a great proposal. I'm not the one that makes the decisions. I will forward it to thus and so."
Hmm.
Cool. But like you're saying, I'm thinking of the exact same place, right? Because I'm doing whatever I can to be involved with this place because it is that legendary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is the next level to it, right? Is to create the graphic that I can see and then putting that in their face as well. It's a really good
Yeah.
one. I like
Yeah,
that.
man. Yeah. I mean, just imagine being the decision maker of a company and then receiving an email from some company saying they would love to, offer this service to you. And they show you the service with all of your elements, your brand elements incorporated into it. It's like, yo, I can see that. Like, because you want them to see the vision, you
Right.
know,
Right.
even beyond words and text on an email. And if they can see the actual potential product or the potential presentation, I would be like, man, I need to. First of all, I love the initiative that this company took, not knowing if I would bite.
Right.
That alone says I need to have a conversation with this person.
I hear
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
like that.
And,
I like
and
that idea.
even poets, even if they don't have the graphic design skills, what if you wrote a poem in relation to their mission or vision statement?
I
And
remember that
you,
one of your
oh
challenges in the morning, man. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think about that? I'm telling you, like my first impression was just like, I don't know, he's like kind of salesman, but no, he's not selling anything. But you're so on point when you're like, listen, we're getting to a point in the year that poets should be the most revered people on earth, like Valentine's Day, right? Like there should be no poets out of work around Valentine's Day. When you said that, I was like, damn, you really do got a point about that, right?
Yeah.
When you just think about how poets can maneuver with their writing, right? You said, think about your signature poem, right? And then think about a company in your area or a group, right? Or an organization that is aligned with that and reach out to them. Like how do you think I got like my first 10 reach out emails was because based on exactly that. Just companies that I felt like, okay, because I consider myself a social justice poet, right? So I started looking up companies that did exactly that, organizations, nonprofits that are focused on those things. And those are the people that I reach out to.
Yeah. But even beyond that, who do I know? It's your warm market. Like we forget who we know. Right. And who they are connected to and what organizations they work for. Hey, cousin. Hey, Miss So-and-so. I know you work at, the organization, this, that, and the third. Are you all looking for creative ways and attractive ways to present you all's message? Yeah, but we just had a meeting. We just had a meeting about that because our message is so boring and it's not doing what we needed to do. Like, what you can do something. Oh, that's right. You're a poet. You could actually write us something, right? But they won't think of it if you didn't think of it.
You're right. Even though we are the wordsmiths of the generation, right? Poets have always been the wordsmiths, right? I always love to throw out a stat. In the 1850s, poets were the #1 entertainers in America, right? At the advent of radio, right? It was poets who were writing all those stories where people were all huddled around the radio listening to stories. It was poets creating those things, right?
Yeah.
So when you started talking about, using your poetry in different ways, right? Like you said, like, oh, do you know I could do these things? I can flip your message in different ways, right? And one of the last things that for me, I was just like, okay, this cat has actually got me into a space that I am completely uncomfortable with 2 of them, but I'm going, right? And one of the things I remember asking you is like, okay, I'm not a salesman. I tell people this all the time. I can't sell water to a fish. I'm not a salesman. Right. And I remember you and I having a conversation. You were like, okay, you're not selling them anything. You're having a conversation with them about how you can help them, about how you can add value to their brand. I'm telling you, man, I was just like, damn, no, that just makes absolute sense right there. Okay. And I did. When I jumped on the phone, you know what I mean? As the CEO of Vision Works, I was like, listen, this is how my company can add value to yours. Buy this and buy this. We also do this, and that, right? Another thing that you're just like, okay, what services do you offer, right? Oh, okay, so you're a poet, so you got this. Okay, what else? You got this, and that means you can do this and this and this. So really, having a network of people to really let you know, right? It's like, when you go and you talk to someone who helps you enhance your resume, right? And you say, okay, what have you done? Right. Such a macro level question, you know what I mean? What have you done? But when you start really breaking it down into language that, businesses and companies can understand, as you said, B2B or B2C, right? And when you start learning how to translate that B2B language, now you're going and you're moving somewhere else, right?
Right.
So B2B, business to business, or business B2C, business to consumer or customer. You know what I mean? When you start learning the language between the two, then you start moving different ways.
Yeah. And you get the respect that you're looking for.
Man, that was another one. He said another one. I remember one day you said, okay, you need to be on LinkedIn. Right. because that is the business Facebook, right?
Right.
Not just personal, right? Because I already had a personal LinkedIn, but he said, nah, go into it as a business owner. And you were 100% on the money. Like all the people that I have connected to my Vision Works business page are all CEOs and vice presidents of other companies. That's it. That's it. Like it's amazing, right? Even when another thing that you mentioned, right? I went to the local business expo, right? Never had been to one ever as a CEO, ever, for any reason. But finding myself in there representing my company and trying to do what business people do, right?
Mm,
Expanding your network to increase your net worth.
right. What's one of the responses that you got when you were talking to someone and they ask you, so what do you do? What do you offer? What's one of the
Um,
responses?
So first of all, people were shocked when I said, my company offers poetry as a service. Like, wow, really? What is that? I've never heard that. That sounds cool. What do you do? You know, um, and so all of them were pretty much pleasantly surprised at being offered poetry. I mean, because everyone else there was, really, real estate agents, insurance, specific type of, companies, pipe fitters, you know what I mean? Graphic designers, even, cameras, drone cameras. Um, so for me to go in there and say, my creativity is my service. My brand is to be the most creative person that right? That we can actually give your company a creative moniker, even. You know what I mean? Like we can breathe creativity into your brand and
Hmm.
turn it into something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With my network and my international team of poets, we can also translate your message into pretty much every continent on the planet.
Hmm. That's good. I love it, man. I love when people take action. That's what I ask for. I'll be honest with you, man. You know, don't just ogle over the information and just consume it and then don't apply it. Like,
Right.
what are we doing? Why are we wasting time? We might as well just stop talking. You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's what made me appreciate the time that you even spent on there,
Mm,
because again, you never sold anything,
yeah,
right? But you just gave people concrete steps to take to do, right? And there's still a couple of things that you mentioned, and I'm like, damn, I still got to
yeah,
figure that out. I still got to figure that one out, right?
yeah.
Because you mentioned the call center, right? I was like, ooh, man, right?
Wait, what?
Set up
Mission?
a call center, like set up your own type of call center, right? I was like, damn, like you know what? I need to get to a point where I need a call center for people to start, you know what I mean, reaching out for me, right? To sell my business in a sense, or to, introduce, not sell it, but introduce my business, to potential clients.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
just how you did things, man, really. And still, every time I catch you on live, I can't, I haven't been able to recently, but every time it's just like, okay, no, here's the next thing, and then here's the
Yeah.
next thing, and here's the next thing. And I remember when you started, you were like, you know what, I'm just gonna start from the beginning, and then one time, I had jumped on like one of my very, very first experiences with you, and you were just like, yo, somebody, I'm just calling schools today. You know what I mean? I'm gonna call a school and see, let y'all hear what it sounds like when I'm trying to offer my business, right? And you were like,
Mm,
somebody put in a school, and I actually put in a school. You're like, oh, okay, where is this at? And I was like, oh, it's right here. And you're like, cool, okay. And you jumped on the phone with the people right there and called them. And I was like, yo, what the hell is he gonna say? When the phone was ringing, I'm just like, what the hell is he gonna say? I'm just like, how does he do this shit?
yeah.
And it was really cool, man. Like the level of confidence that you showed, not only in, you know your delivery, but the level of confidence that you had in your business and your
That's
service.
that's where it is. That's as long as you know what you do and how you can add value, you
Right.
won't have to sell. And you
Right.
won't have to figure out words to say.
Right. Right.
If you know that you can add value with somebody that does real estate, okay, all right, what does somebody with that does real estate need with messaging? Not poetry. Speak their language. What does a real estate person need? And then you can even ask that question: what does a person in real estate need as far as messaging? Right? Take the poetry word out, because poetry is synonymous to messaging and
Yes.
storytelling. And see, they're familiar with messaging. They're familiar with storytelling. They're familiar with these other words. They're just not familiar with poetry. So let's speak their language. Take mine out real quick, right? And when they tell me what their issues and problems are, oh, got it. You are looking to best describe this property. Got you. And you're used to having some proper, this house, it looks like this and this like that. But what if that property commercial was oh my Lord.
Right.
What if a poet was standing in the middle of the living room of the house?
Right. Drone shot going around, right? Going around
So
the poet as he like, come on, man. Easy. It's
so,
easy.
so what needs to happen is you need to go do that. You need to go get your drone friend and listen, man. This is the vision that I have. Let's go into a model home. Let's go check it out and get the different elements of the house. Let me write something real quick and describe how the house is and this, that. Battle rap,
Yeah.
clips. Just guess
Yeah.
what room I'm in.
Come
What?
on, man. Come
If
on,
he
man. Shout
if
out
he
Smack.
can do
Shout out
that,
URL, man. For real.
if he can do that, why can't the poet do that? You see what I'm saying? He described the rooms and the same difference, but now you're showing. Oh man.
No, that's
Look,
heavy. No, you yeah. You just landed over like,
I'm giving
yo,
myself ideas now.
I know. As soon as I was like, wait a minute, because I just saw something like, yo, no, that's a good one,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's
Because look. What if you didn't ask for any money up front? You just asked for a cut of the sale of the house.
come on, commission. Come on, commission. Listen.
I'm going to help you sell this house.
Oh, you better believe it, right? Because advertising makes a giant difference when you're talking about sales, right? So when you said that, you said take poetry out of it and use their word. Okay, I'm going to enhance your advertising, right? I'm going to, like you said, your messaging, right? Now I'm going to relate to the group of people that you're actually trying to reach.
Give me goosebumps over here, man.
No, that was a great one, really. Like, it's just a whole nother, just like you can take
Yeah.
it to yachts, you know what I mean? You could take it to farmland, like it's ridiculous. You could even take it to cars if you'd like all the way, in my opinion. Like, if you're gonna do it, you could do it all the way. You know what I mean? Small
Because
scale, large scale.
look, with the commission of that house, they're gonna make what do they make? Like 3% or something like that, I think they
Okay.
roughly
Yeah.
17,000 or something like that. They make like $17,000 on a sale or something like that. What if, all right, just give me 1,000 out of that. They'd be like, what? Oh, it's not a problem.
That's enough.
When the house sells, give me 1,000. As opposed to the upfront 150.
Very much so.
They're not paying you 1,000 up front, but
Of
they'll
course
pay
not.
you 1,000 when the house sells.
Nah, that's a really good one, man.
And there's no risk to them.
Right. That's a good one, man. No, that's
You might be seeing some poets in some houses in a minute.
hey, I feel you, man.
But yeah, man, yeah.
That's a good one. And
You really do have the elements, bro. You have music, you have graphic design, you have poetry. Like, give me another finger. Like, what?
I mean, hosting. I mean,
Hosting.
public speaking. Education. Like, come on, man. Like, like, poetry coaching. You know what I'm saying? Because I learned from the folks who actually do this. So I mean, but like you mentioned, though, right? Event planning, workshop facilitation. Like. There's just, message translation. Again, I know people all over the world, man, really all over the world. So, and poetry has blessed me with that, man. Really, like you're saying, right? We've never met before, but poetry, right, has made a connection. All the people I know, like this place, these folks are in New York, right? I don't live in New York, but I am so connected with them, right? It's a blessing, right? Again, people all over the world. So for me, it's just about, again, as we've talked about before, right? Converting from an individual into an entity. And when you know that, and you know that you realize you have a platform, then you need to give people a way to invest in your business, right? And I'm taking some of the stuff that I've learned from you and trying to help my partner put his stuff together, right? So, what I mean? Like you said, don't just take the information and build your own stuff, help someone else build their stuff up as well, right? Tide raises all ships. So that is also what I'm trying to do. While I'm learning, right, I'm also sharing this information, right?
Yeah.
But the more you do, the more people can actually see it works.
Yeah. Or build your own things to be examples for the things that you can build for others.
Factual. Like that's, I had an old school partner of mine tell me, don't tell me you told me, tell me you showed me.
Ooh.
Right?
That's what it's about. It's that kindergarten show and tell.
Show and tell, man.
That's why the show is first.
Right.
Everybody doing this first. Everybody's yipping at the mouth. Everybody yipping and yapping and haven't done anything yet. And probably won't.
Because it's easy to stand back and throw rocks at the sun, but how much of a rocket ship are you building to try to actually get to it? How close are you trying to get to it? Or are you trying to go opposite of the sun and see how far the light touches? You know what I mean? Like it really does matter what you're trying to do with this. Some people, listen, I've heard, poets not going to get rich. I understand this is not, a super lucrative business where you're going to see, the next thing you know, you're going to see $1 million poets with stupid chains on. It doesn't work that way. Right. I'm thankful to even see that there is a category at the Grammys for poetry. I love to see that. Really. I think they should do some, like, now that we got that, we need to do some Lifetime Achievement Awards, like ASAP. Like we need to do some Lifetime Achievement Awards now that we got them. You know what I mean? Lost Poets need some. Amiri needs some. Like it's just saying. I love that aspect, but I think that we all need to do what we can do as poets, as business owners, or just as poets with poems to try to encourage each other. And as I mentioned before, bordering on a poetry union, right? To ensure that we have a dedicated market value for our services, whether it just be for a 30-minute set or a 2-hour symposium, whatever the case is. I think we need a standard that so poets are not just getting $50 a damn poem.
But the issue with that is we're talking a lot of business terminology, and poets are not businesses yet.
Very true.
You see what I'm saying?
Very
Like poets are throwing out a lot of business talk and have not started a business yet. You throwing business talk out with hobby actions.
No doubt.
Ain't no union with hobbies.
No doubt.
And nobody's paying over $25 to $50 for a hobby.
Absolutely right.
Are you paying for it?
Oh, no.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't even pay somebody for their hobby.
No.
So why are we expecting the world to pay us when we haven't established ourselves or packaged ourselves?
Yo, that package is very serious. And I love how you said it even crosses genres, right? Because this, and I say package, and I always think, that EPK, right? Or your press kit, right? If you don't have that package, then people they don't even speak anything less than that, right? People don't speak business cards. People don't speak, oh, check my link tree, right? they just don't. Right? Unless you have your package put together, then you're, like you're saying, you're probably not on that business path yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you even start spending money to establish your business, right?
Yeah.
Because that's when you're gonna know, right?
Yeah.
Start spending money, you start wasting money because you're being lazy on some things. Yeah. And that sometimes deters people, right? It's like, oh, I'll just keep it in the hobby realm, right? And I'll just do some other stuff, right? But once you cross that threshold to become an actual business, an actual entity, and no longer an individual, he said that's when the real work begins. Honestly.
Yeah. Real talk, man. Real talk, bro. Man, Elemental, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship, your willingness to add value. You all know the thumbnails that you all see from this podcast, from this season, is from Elemental Vision Works. You all see those dope, attractive, creative thumbnails. They're coming from Elemental Vision Works. I'm letting you all know now. Matter of fact, we're gonna cut this and make this a commercial for a review and some push for Elemental Vision Works, because he knows what he's doing, he knows what he's talking about, and that's why I brought him on the Poet Life team, the Poet Life podcast team. And I told him, I said, I'm not coming back to do this podcast if I don't develop a team. And from the Instagram live, I went to his page and I saw his work, and I was just like, man, listen, I need you on the podcast team. I'll do what I need to do to draw people to you and give you some business, because I appreciate the level of time and effort, because you can tell that you put time and effort into what you create.
Absolutely. My name is on it. And I believe in, a standard that I've set for myself, right? I have a level of integrity and it's non-negotiable, right? That's how I do things. And what people don't know about me, people who haven't necessarily, worked with me on a professional level, as you can tell them, I give you options, right? It's not just a one thing to just say, here it is, take it or leave it. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you different options because my vision for it may not be yours, right? But I will definitely do my best to encompass as many different options as I can think of.
He's not lying, folks. I mean, 3 options. Like, all right, one of these, and if you don't like either one of these, let me know. But I liked all 3 of them, and I couldn't choose. I had to ask somebody else. so y'all connect with Elemental Vision Works, man, and because we plan to do a lot with this podcast, and presentation and packaging means a lot. So I went to go to the best to help with my packaging, right? If you all notice from last seasons to now, things look different on my end. You know, I painted my back wall and put the logo on the TV and went to, you know, got some things. You understand? You know,
That's
and
like 100. That's fly though, man. For real. Like that just, again, to me, that speaks to your professionalism, right? It's not just a, you know what I mean, put up this picture on the wall and this means, this is a dedicated space to get down, right? Again, that speaks to your, you know, dedication, your professionalism, right? It just, again, and then when people come into the studio, it's like, oh, okay, let's do it, right? So that level of professionalism speaks louder than almost anything, honestly.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about on a regular basis, man, on our group me messaging and everything, man. So listen, everybody watching, listening, I thank you for your time. Elemental, if you could leave something with the people, I'll give you a second, man. It's on you.
Do not believe when people tell you you cannot. Believe beyond the boundaries of what people think is possible, right? Because the only thing that's out there is the creativity that you've been looking for. Plug into that, become the conduit of your creativity, and everything will start to manifest for you. I'm talking, I'm talking, oh my gosh, like lotus flower type of amazing, right? You start growing things that aren't necessarily supposed to exist in that way. Be that fearless, be that creative, and grow your own new system, your own ecology. It's I love creativity. There's nothing in the world that you cannot do. Nothing in the world.
Yeah. Creativity gives you life.
It does.
It makes you want to wake up in the morning and create some more.
What else can you create? You know, like what else can you do? How much further can you take it? That's what it's always been for me. That's what's been the next step. It's like, oh, I got away with saying that in my poem. Oh, damn. Okay. Let me see what else I can say. You know what I mean? Let me see how much further I can step it, how much further I can take it. You know, even with the graphics, I'm like, okay, I was able to get away with that. Okay, cool. Let me go further. You see what else I can do, you know? And that's why I have something that I do on a regular basis, but I haven't really produced my own in a while because I have to go there, right? I've seen what I've done, and I can't just keep doing the same thing, right? Because I have to keep pushing myself forward. So just be as creative as absolutely possible and continue to check yourself.
Yes, indeed. That's what it is. I love that. Listen, everybody, it's the Poet Life Podcast. What I need you all to do, if you're watching or listening, I need you to go to poetrybusinessnetwork.com. We have a new platform. It's like a Facebook-like platform. It's ours, which means we're focused on poetry and business. If you're looking to learn how to do more with your poetry, create a career with it, it's possible. First of all, that's what I want to say. It's possible. And if you haven't figured out how to be compensated for your art and your work, you have to learn how. That's the missing piece. You've just been wondering how. You have to learn how, right? you can't wonder how to be a doctor. You have to learn how. So it's no different, right? So the information and the knowledge is here now. It wasn't here 3 years ago. It wasn't here almost 2 years ago. But the information and the knowledge is here. And we want to connect with you. Go to poetrybusinessnetwork.com and connect with us. All right. I appreciate everybody. Elemental, thank you so much, man. And I can't wait to get feedback from this episode and comments and things of that nature, because this was a good one, bro.
I appreciate you, man. Really. Listen, also, I want to just reiterate what you said, right? Poetrybusinessnetwork.com. Listen, make sure you are plugging into that network. All right. There are some people in that network that are 100% truly about their business, right? Shout out Pierre, shout out Lady G, right? Shout out Patricia. Listen, there are people in there that really, really are about their moving their business forward and taking their poetry into a professional realm. Trust and believe, these are not people that are tap dancing and just, it's not a writer's circle. All right. This is not people that are playing with it. These are people who are absolutely serious about it. And so if you're ready to make that move, jump into the poetrybusinessnetwork.com for real.
He just name dropped about 3 people. And what's so crazy is we've never met any one of them in person. And we family. That's crazy. I'm gonna end this right off here, because we ain't gonna never end this podcast, man.
Listen, man, I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate everybody. Elemental. Talk to you, bro.
For sure, man. Peace.